Welcome once again to Stuff and Things, where I like to talk about stuff, and occasionally even things. I'm your good friend Bradley, and today, well, it's a Sunday Stuff and Things. And on this Sunday Stuff and Things, we're going to have stuff and things to talk about. Too many stuffs and things to talk about, including upcoming videos, things you can look forward to on Stuff and Things, the Stuff and Things YouTube channel, Stuff and Things Patreon, and working. We're going to talk about being rudely awakened by an earthquake last week. That was interesting, and maybe sort of tied into the importance of being connected to nature. We'll get into that a little bit. We will ask whether or not HUTs, a German blender, do HUTs bite? They might. We'll get into that a little bit. There is a great article written by a man named Anthony Draper, or an essay that he put on his Substack that I'm going to talk about a little bit as well. Just talking about the whole YouTube thing. So I want to get into that, and then also address a concern that has been raised in the comments. We'll get into that, of course, as well. We have your questions, comments, and feedback in hashtag askstuffandthings, and then we'll have our Patreon shout out and updates at the end of the episode. Too many things. So let's not waste any time. We'll get right into it. Okay, so what can you look forward to on Stuff and Things YouTube, Stuff and Things Patreon, and working? Well, coming up this week on Stuff and Things YouTube will be a video about how I edit my digital photos. So I take lots of pictures all the time, and I am editing lots of pictures all the time. I use Adobe Lightroom to do that, and I have developed a method that I use to get results that I like without doing so much that the pictures look very heavily edited. And so I'm going to talk about that in this video coming up on Wednesday on Stuff and Things. Just my method for editing color digital photographs and black and white digital photographs. How to make them look natural, how to make them look good, but not make them look fake or over-edited, over-processed. So that video will be out this Wednesday. The following week on Stuff and Things Patreon, we will be doing a first impressions video of HUT's Edward G. So this is a very interesting vapor blend. HU as a blender is very interesting. So we'll be getting to that on Patreon, not this week, but the week after. And then on Stuff and Things YouTube, we will have a full review of the Lochby Mini Field Journal. I opened this quite a while ago on a Sunday Stuff and Things, and I had yet to do a full review, but I just recorded a full review of the Lochby Mini Field Journal. So that will be out soon as well. And then on working, we have episode 45 out, explaining the entire process and theory behind setting foundation walls, like what you're trying to accomplish and how you go about accomplishing that. So sort of a more focused video, just kind of focusing on one aspect of the job, which I think is interesting. So lots coming up on all the various places where things show up for Stuff and Things. Stay tuned. So Monday morning at exactly, I think it was 5:03 a.m., or well, let's go a minute before then, 5:02 a.m. I was having a dream. I don't remember exactly what it was about, but there was some obnoxious guy in the dream bugging me. And in the dream, he said, "Dude, wake up, dude. Dude, wake up." And I woke up. And as I woke up, I looked at my clock and saw that it was 5:02 or 5:03. And then suddenly, everything started to shake. It was pretty noticeable. It was a pretty noticeable earthquake. Now, I live on the west coast of Washington State, northwest part of Washington State, and there is a ring of fire all around the Atlantic. And, you know, lots of volcanoes. There's Mount Baker near here is an active volcano. I mean, it's dormant, but it could go. It's still, it's not a, what's the distinction there? Is dormant means that it could blow at some point. It's not an extinct volcano. There's still steam rising from it. Mount St. Helens in Seattle, not Mount St. Helens, Mount St. Helens is the one that blew in Oregon when I was a baby. What is Mount Rainier is a volcano near Seattle. Like, there are volcanoes around here. There are earthquakes around here. There was a big earthquake back in, when was that? Like 2001 or something, the Nisqually quake. So earthquakes can occur here. I know people probably don't think of Washington as being an earthquake prone place, but yeah, it shook the whole place. Things on my shelves were shaking. Nothing fell over. That's kind of my gauge as to how big an earthquake was or is. When I lived in California, I got a couple where, you know, pictures fell off the walls, like things fell off the shelves. This wasn't that bad, but as soon as it happened, you know, I felt it. It lasted for, I don't know, probably a good 6-7 seconds. Maybe, it's hard to tell in that situation. And I don't know if I actually woke up because the earthquake had already started, but it seemed as though the weirdo in my dream told me to wake up and then the earthquake started. So maybe I have some weird earthquake sixth sense, I don't know. But anyway, I jumped onto the Pacific Northwest Seismic, where is that? Pacific Northwest Seismic Network to take a look. They listed it as a 4.6 magnitude, I think at first, and then it was revised down to a 4.5. So obviously not a huge earthquake, but it was big enough to feel. And it was right around Orcas Island. So we don't need to get into the geography too much, but basically due west of Bellingham, there is an island called Orcas Island, and it was right off that island. There was another one at 3 a.m. that same morning, but it was just a 2.7, so I didn't feel that. But I was looking, there have been a lot of little earthquakes lately, especially the month of February, so who knows? Earth's blowing off a little steam. Hopefully we don't get a really big one. But that was interesting. And it just reminded me, you know, you have no control. At the end of the day, if there were to be a crazy earthquake, I think they estimated that around, I can't remember if it was the 15th century or 16th century, they think there was an earthquake that was large enough to dam the Columbia River at the time. Like, there was just so much landslide debris and everything that it actually dammed the Columbia River, and that apparently Japanese people made note of the tsunami that resulted all the way in Japan. So there have been massive earthquakes in this area, and if one occurs, not much I can do about it. We'll see what happens. But it just reminds me in general, we'll touch on this very briefly because we have too many things to talk about, how disconnected I think a lot of people in Western societies are just from nature. And just from weather, too. People complain about the weather and everything, but for the most part, they are in their air-conditioned / heated apartments or houses, and then they get up. They may spend 30 seconds getting into their car or getting onto public transportation, but then they're in a climate-controlled office building or place of work all day long, and then they may spend 30 or 40 seconds getting back into a vehicle or public transportation, and then they go back into their house. And it's weird just how different I feel about nature and climate and weather and everything, because I literally spend every single day out in the weather. I am so aware of the changing of the seasons. I'm so aware of temperature, of precipitation, of everything, because it's right there. Like, wherever I am outside, I'm being rained on if it's raining. I'm being snowed on if it's snowing. I am cold if it is freezing. I am hot if it is hot. And most people in Western societies just don't have that unless they have like a manual labor kind of job like me, or a construction job. And it's just weird that, you know, I feel this connection to, and not in a weird mystical sense or anything, but I am just very aware of time and how the seasons change, and just the feel and the mood of different seasons. Like, I can tell you it's gonna rain before it's gonna rain, usually. And that's without me looking at my phone. Like, I know what it smells like. I know what it feels like. I know what the clouds look like. And I think that's nice. I think I like that. I think I take it for granted sometimes, but I don't know. There's this stupid saying now, go out and touch grass. I agree. Get out there, get outside, feel what it feels like to be out in the elements.
appreciate the changes and the seasons, and just try to spend as much time outside as you possibly can. I think it's good for you. All right, briefly, I did the first impressions video for HUT's Edward G. This is a Vayburki. How do I say this now? Vayperki. Virginia Perique with some Kentucky. Or is this just Burley? Is it Burley or Kentucky? No, it's Kentucky. A hint of Kentucky. So it's red Virginias, dark pressed, under heat, rounded off with a little Perique, brown Virginia, and a hint of Kentucky. So it's the Vayperki that we were talking about a few weeks back. I have never had an Edward G blend before, and during the first impressions video, I got a little bit of tongue bite. It kind of reminded me of what would happen with a lot of the older, or not older, I guess the now no longer in existence, McFadin Virginia blends. Never happened with their HH line, but in just their normal line, if I had a McFadin Virginia, it was often bitey. And I'm curious to know if any of you out there who have had HU blends have had any tongue bite. Now this can be very personal. Some people's mouth chemistry just reacts differently with different blends by different blenders. But I'm worried. I wanted to check out more HU blends, and obviously I still need to do the full review of this. It's going to be a couple weeks of me trying this out. If it ends up consistently giving me tongue bite, I want to hear from anyone else. Do other HU blends do that to you? Because I might just decide HU blends aren't for me. We'll have to see if this one continues to bite, but I would love to hear from you in the comments below whether it bites you as well. Let me know. Okay, we've been going a little over 12 minutes. I think we're gonna be okay on time. But next, I wanna point out or shout out an article. This is by Anthony Draper, and it is on his Substack called A Reasonable Doubt. I will link to the article on his Substack down below, or essay, I guess you could call it. And it's basically just a really interesting dissection of what's been going on with YouTube with demonetization and just the lack of recourse that channels have. He used me as an example, my situation that we have gone over more than enough, so I don't need to bring it up again. And then also, was it Cinema something? I can't remember. Another YouTube channel dealing with film. And basically, he did really good research just into the rules and regulations of YouTube and really lays out the whole issue very, very succinctly and with just a lot of good analysis. He's a lawyer by trade, apparently, and so he sets the whole thing down better than I could probably ever do. So it's definitely worth taking a read. Now, I don't know, I haven't read any of the other articles on his Substack. He seems like a nice guy. He says he's been watching this channel for 10 years, so obviously he must be a nice guy. But if there's some article about how cool cockfighting is or how we should eat endangered species or something, that has nothing to do with me. I'm just saying that this article is good. It sucks that we have to do these caveats now because people say like, well, did you hear he said this? I think he's probably fine. I think his articles are probably fine. His Substack's probably fine. But just in case there's something about killing endangered three-toed sloths and frying them up, I do not endorse those articles, but I am endorsing this essay about YouTube demonetization, the Stuff and Things channel, and another channel having to do with film. Very well written, very well researched, worth checking out. Link in the description below. And while we are on the subject of YouTube demonetization, all that stuff, very briefly, I've gotten a couple comments now on last week's Sunday Stuff and Things where people are saying, ugh, now Sunday Stuff and Things is so boring because he won't talk about pipes anymore. Sunday Stuff and Things is not going to change. There's no reason, as far as I can tell, for Sunday Stuff and Things to change. I was able to monetize Sunday Stuff and Things in the past. I can't monetize anything now, but I don't think there was anything wrong with my Sunday Stuff and Things videos. So we will mention blends. We'll mention videos that are upcoming. Sunday Stuff and Things has always been about what's coming up on the channel, a little bit of news, and then we might have some other little topics that we discuss. Sometimes it'll be pipe related, sometimes it won't. It wasn't last week, but it kind of was this week, so chill out. It's gonna be fine. I don't think there's any reason why I would have to change the content of the Sunday Stuff and Things. It's just that all the videos that are specifically about pipes and showing pipes being used now have to be on Patreon, and they're gonna have to leave the YouTube channel. But the Sunday Stuff and Things were okay before, and as far as I can tell, they should still be okay going forward. I guess we'll see. Things are always changing on YouTube, but Sunday Stuff and Things will not be changing, at least not anytime soon, unless YouTube changes rules again. I don't know, but we should be fine doing what we've been doing. All right, gang, but now it is time for hashtag Ask Stuff and Things. Remember, if you have a question for me and you would like it answered on the Sunday Stuff and Things, you can tweet at SATBradley with the hashtag AskStuffandThings. You can write to me via Patreon if you are a Patreon subscriber and go right to the front of the line. You can not hit that super thanks button under this video because this video is no longer, or this channel is no longer monetized, so you can't do that. But you can also write me questions, comments, and feedback under the YouTube videos, and I read all the comments and try to pick out questions, comments, concerns, all that good stuff every single week. We have some feedback from last week's Sunday Stuff and Things. This is from our good friend at Kenjiro5775. I'm really glad that you have gotten the spring back in your step. You're a good man, Charlie Brown. Thank you, Kenjiro. Remember that whole spring thing? I jumped the gun. I mean, maybe not necessarily as far as my mood goes, but the weather. It's raining, it's drizzling. This whole weekend is gonna be raining the entire freaking weekend. And it's cold again, it's like in the 40s. Anyway, it will come, I know it will come. It's just, it's not here yet. I wish it were. Next, at Michael Case says, you are all in blue. You even look like a Morlock. Those rocks you were walking and sitting upon are called riprap. Yeah, so I don't think I was wearing a blue coat. What was I wearing? But anyway, are Morlocks blue? I guess their skin is blue. Don't they have white fur? It's been a while since I've seen The Time Machine. But yes, that was so cool. So Michael Case said that the rocks you are walking and sitting on are called riprap. I had never heard that term before, and that's what those things are. So broken up bits of concrete and stuff that people use as a wave break at ports and things, riprap. That's so cool. I'm so glad to know that now, so thank you, Michael Case. We have at AZHawks516 says, great video, Bradley. Glad the spring is bringing hope for better things. Thank you, AZHawk. We have at Pilgrim Grant who says, dear sir, this video resonated with me deeply. Some months ago, in the midst of daily life, I had an experience where the sun seemed to shine, the clouds broke. My heart was lightened and my cares faded away for a moment. That day I wrote in a small notebook the simple words, a glimmer of hope. It is important for all of us to remember how much there is to look forward to and that there is always good cause for hope for the future. I've been a viewer for nearly a decade and you have brought me a lot of entertainment over the years. When my best friend was going through a difficult time, I remember watching your tea reviews in his living room one evening. There was no couch and minimal furniture. He let me have the recliner and he sat himself in a lawn chair as we shared a jar of chocolate and discussed one of your favorite videos. It is a cherished memory and we both think about it to this day. While I was at Mass this fine Sunday, I happened to think about you and I said a prayer for you. I hope that 2025 will be a year of great joy over... I don't know why I'm saying it this way. I don't know why I'm speaking this way. I'm not trying to make fun of this video, but it just had this epic quality to it. In your neck of the woods. Take care, Bradley, and may the sun keep on shining. Thank you very much, Pilgrim Grant. It's very cool to hear that one of my videos is part of a cherished memory for you and your friend. That is cool. I probably don't deserve that, but thank you very much. And then we have at Megan9436 says, what a beautiful day. The cherry blossoms have already arrived in some parts of Japan. Yeah, they should be showing up here pretty soon too. Which means the summer later this year will be awful. But I still want to embrace the spring. Can you clarify, were tea videos ever monetized? I feel like a lot of these topics were fine, but the crackdown came down later than a lot of people refer to. The crackdown came down later that a lot of people refer to as the adpocalypse. These last few years have been rough for me due to in real life stuff, particularly this time of year. I'm hoping I can get some resolution this week, but we'll see. Thanks, Megan. I hope everything works out for you. Yeah, back when I first started, you could monetize the pipe videos. It was fine. And then it was around 2018, they started demonetizing those. And then I started not even trying to monetize any of those. And then we had several years where you had to be more careful about your language. Like it's all been in flux all the time. But now we're to the point where it just seems like, I mean, now my entire channel can't be monetized as long as I have pipe stuff on it. So we'll see. Always changing. At Markini 1877 says, looking forward to the editing video coming out this Wednesday. Just investigating the process. I have an R8. I'm assuming a Canon R8. Do you shoot RAW? Is Lightroom still good if you shoot JPEG? I won't get super in depth with this, but yes, when I'm shooting digital, I'm usually shooting a JPEG and a RAW. So I'll get 2 files for each image. Or I guess it'll be 2 images on different, it's the same image, but in 2 file formats. So I have a JPEG version and a RAW version. RAW version gives you just more latitude. It has more actual information in the file, and that's what I usually edit in Lightroom. You will have more latitude with a RAW file than you will with a JPEG, depending on how much you think you need to edit. And I don't really do that much, but I still like having the latitude of the RAW file. So I typically edit RAW in Lightroom. Lightroom would still be good for JPEGs, but you'll definitely get more out of it with a RAW file. And then we also have some feedback from the last Patreon video, the Patreon exclusive Opening the Cabinet of Forgotten Pipes. This is from Les Brady, who said, the Peter Straub Costello is gorgeous. It is. The Italy Saddlebit Billiard, that was the basket pipe that I got, I think it was the very first pipe I ever had, looks like a Savinelli or a Rossi second. Yeah, I could never really find out what it actually was. It just said Italy on it. Aaron H. says, thanks for sharing, Bradley. I'm not mad. You have an extra backstock of good peeps on reserve. What a terrible problem to have. Yeah. And then CH says, I think I remember there was one pipe where you did a review or a Sunday video out on a picnic table when you lived at the place across the street from the homeless shelter. Remember those days? Unfortunately, it was a windy day and I think it burned through the side or something like that. Yeah, I think that was I had that little saddle bit smooth Peterson billiard that I loved. And I think that is the one that I just left and I wasn't paying attention and I screwed up because the wind was just blowing over the top of it and just creating this conflagration inside, like deep, this ember that burned through the sides. So you've got to be careful, wind caps, or just keep it out of the wind entirely. All right, gang, thanks for all that feedback. Please keep it coming in. It really helps make the show go. But now it is time for the very best part of the show, and that is where we thank our Patreon supporters. Now more than ever, your support on Patreon means a lot. As I'm sure you've heard by now, our entire YouTube channel has been demonetized. We'll have to make some changes and reapply for monetization and the partner program in the future, but right now, Patreon is the only way that you can support any of the content I make. And all the pipe videos are now going to be exclusive to Patreon because they can no longer be on YouTube. So if you want the pipe stuff, got to go to Patreon. And if you just want to support us in general, you got to go to Patreon. And a lot of people have, and I really appreciate it. Every week we shout out those who support the channels at $25 or more a month. People like Jason Buckner, Arcturus, Ashes of the Phoenix, Jonathon Proctor, The Friendly Piper, GreatGrol, Glenn, Les Brady, David Severin, Nicholas James, Kyle Whitmore, and Mr. Gibson. And of course, the Maniacs, the crazy people who support the channels at $100 a month, people like Bob Magee and Ryan McFadin. And we'll never forget our dearly departed friend, and Hall of Fame member, Peter Straub. Thank you so much for that support, gang. For some more Patreon news here, we have Cabinet of Forgotten Pipes is out. That was out last Monday. This week, we will have From the Archives, Orlick Golden Sliced. So an old review from over 10 years ago, I think it was 2014, and Orlick Golden Slice was actually the first blend I ever had. I believe, yes. It was the first blend I ever had that wasn't like a house blend aromatic. So it kind of got me into the whole thing. So a review of that, And then we will have, not this week, but the week after, we will have the first impressions video for HUT's Edward G, a Vaperky. So lots of good stuff coming up on Stuff and Things YouTube, Stuff and Things Patreon, and working. Please stay tuned, please continue watching, but until next time, until we meet again, I've been your good friend Bradley, you've been the audience, this has been Stuff and Things on a Sunday Stuff and Things. I'll see you later. Who is this? Why are you bothering me? Can't you see I'm busy?